Okay, welcome to my shop again, and this morning we're going to work on a little Valentine project. It's going to be a little lantern, sort of, that we're going to make primarily from birch plywood, quarter-inch birch ply. Could be made with other woods, of course. Plus we'll also need a base of a thicker wood, which we'll come up with as we go along, and a handle as well. You don't really see the whole thing in 3-dimension here, but you're going to have 4 of these hearts that are shaped like a box, and they'll sit on top of a pedestal with a candle in the middle. Now the candle will be one of those artificial ones. We're going to have it set down in the base so that it just shows the flame up above. And on the backs of these hearts, which are very much see-through, we're going to put some translucent paper, which is going to be actually wax paper. We're going to cut it to the shape of the heart, and should look pretty good. And then you can light this thing up, carry it like a little lantern. Be a nice little decorative piece for Valentine's Day. Alright, so what we're going to do, I've got the pattern here, and if you'd like to make one of these, you can find the link down below. Take a look and you'll see the link to the free pattern, which is on my website, and you can go there and download this and try your hand at this. Very simple project to make, nothing complicated here, as you'll see as we go through the steps. I'm going to use a artificial candle. We definitely do not want to use a real candle with this, because flame, of course, could set this thing on fire and you'll have a real lantern for sure. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is cut out some of these little hearts. Now you could stack cut them on several pieces of wood. I'm doing 2 at a time, and I think they come out better that way. It's quarter-inch wood, so it gets pretty thick if you try to do 4 of them at once. I imagine you probably could do that, though, if you wanted to. Alright, so let's get ready to do some work on that. Okay, I cut out the pattern for the heart we're going to need. When we get done, it should look something like this. I'm going to use quarter-inch birch ply to do it. Got a couple pieces of scrap here. Good way to get rid of some of your scrap pieces. I'm going to use a little bit of painter's tape. Tape these 2 together, because we're going to be doing some stack cutting. And the tape will also help to let the blade cut through the wood more smoothly without burning. Not that we have to worry too much about that with this project. And we also have a place to put our pattern down too. Okay. Very nicely made up. I'm going to go over to the glue stick area and put some glue on the back of this thing. I put some glue on the back of this. As you can see, it's curling up. And we're going to take this and stick it right down here to the blank, like so. And we'll get it ready for cutting. Now, as you can see, we got a lot of internal cuts here. So what we're going to do first is make up some entry holes that we can put our saw blade through. So let's go do this over on the drill press. We're going to punch some holes in here so we can get our saw blade through there when we cut this on the scroll saw. Here we go. Okay, we've got those holes cut out now, and you notice as I was cutting, I lifted the board up a little bit. My blade is a little bit short. I mean, my drill bit is a little bit short there, so I raise it up to make sure I get a clean cut all the way through. And what I'm going to do in cutting this, of course, is start where the hole is, but I'm going to work over toward the corner of each of the internal sections. So I actually will be starting the cut in the corner. That way it won't show up as much on the final product when we're done. So let's take this over to the scroll saw and let's get to work. I'm at the scroll saw now, and I have a number 5 reverse tooth blade in here. It will make for a nice smooth cut around the edges. Won't have so many fuzzies. First thing we're going to do is cut out the internal pieces, and then we'll go around and cut out all around the exterior. I like to start with the smaller sections first. You can do whichever you please. Now when I cut out, hopefully the hand won't get in the way. I'll try to keep it out as much as possible. It's a little bit awkward sometimes. Here we go. Well, that wasn't too bad. Came out pretty good, and it was a nice easy cut as such. Notice that I forgot to take the label off the birch, so we'll know how much I paid for the birch. It's not going to be easy getting this off probably, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat that up a little bit, I think, with a heat gun, and it should peel right off. I'll just okay, let's see if that was enough. Oh yes, comes off rather easy now. A little bit of heat on those labels pops them right off. Okay, the other side, of course, is fairly easy to take off. We got tape and paper here, so those should just peel right off nicely. And it did. We didn't even have to heat that up. And we got a little bit of tape on the back side of this one. Just peel that off. No big deal with this. Okay, got that all off nicely. I think what we'll do now is take these over to the sander, my sand flea, and let's smooth these out a little bit. I got 2 more that I also cut, so we'll take those over and work on those right now. Okay, we're over at the sand flea. Dust it off a little bit. Okay, and we're going to round these over by running this around while the brush is spinning real fast. Should make a nice job. And then, actually, first what I think we're going to do is run them over the roller here and smooth out all the flat parts. They look nice and smooth now. I think we can get away with what we've got here. The brush here, of course, takes all the fuzzies off the edges, and when you run it over the roller, it smooths out all the wood, comes out nice and clean, and we're ready to go to work on assembling this top part of this little project. Okay, we've got our hearts all cut out now. As I mentioned before, they're going to have a translucent backing to them. So what we want to do is, first of all, spray the back side of each one of these hearts. And then I'm going to take it over to some wax paper, and I'm going to settle it down on top of the wax paper so that it sticks to the back of the heart. And then later we'll go around and trim them down so that they look pretty good. So here we go. Let's hope this works. I haven't done this before. Okay. Okay, we just put it right down there. Okay. I've got these hearts sitting on the wax paper now, and we'll let them sit there for a while until the adhesive dries, and then we'll do some trimming back on that wax paper so that it looks pretty good, and we'll be ready to assemble this by gluing the hearts together to make this little box that we have in mind. Okay, so we'll come back when these are all dry. While we're waiting for the other pieces to dry, we can work on the base of this little lantern. I've taken a 1-inch thick piece of cherry, and I ran it around on my 1/4-inch bit on the router, around over these edges, make it look a little better. And I've now, by crisscrossing, centered the piece, so I know where I'm going to drill my candle hole. I don't want this to go all the way through, but I do want it to go down deep enough so that the candle can sit with just the flame showing above it. We don't really want to see the candle. So we're going to take this over to the drill press, and using a 1.5-inch Forstner bit, we'll see if we can drill this hole out. Here we are over at the drill press. I'm going to see if we can drill this out. It's a really hard wood. We'll take our time and go down about 3/4 of the way, probably. Okay, we've drilled our hole in the center of the base. We have a rather thick candle. It's almost 3/4 of an inch thick. But it drops down nicely so that all you're really going to see is a little bit of the edging and mainly the flame, which is what we're concerned about. Let's test it out and see if it works here. Yes, it does. Okay. Now that's going to be hidden down inside the base, and hopefully the light will be strong enough to give us some reflection in the translucent hearts that we're going to put around the edges. Alright, I found the best way to take this paper off neatly is to take a sharp box cutter like this one, and just around the back inside edge of the heart. I'm going to go down and just slice off a section you're not going to want to have there, which is the overhang. This seems to work pretty good. There's probably other ways of doing this, but seems to work okay for me. Okay, once we got that, we just pull off around the edges here, and we have our little translucent heart. The wax paper will give us a little visibility, but you won't really be seeing right through it. We're going to do all 4 of these this way, and I think we'll have it all set so we can assemble this after. Alright, for the piece of wood that we're going to use for the handle, I got another piece of cherry, which will match the base up nicely. And we're going to put this handle on here from the pattern and cut it out, round it over a little bit, and we'll be able to attach that using glue or even a little screw if we wanted to the base. I'm going to go cut that out now. I won't show this on camera, but I'll come back when I got it done. I rounded over the edges after I cut out the handle. What I'm going to do now is just use some glue to glue this to the base. Not going to be that heavy, so I don't think we will really need a screw in there. The glue will probably take care of everything. A little dab on there. Bring our clamp up toward the center, close to the center as we can get it, and I think we're about almost on center there. And just sort of eyeball this. Tighten down the clamp. There, we'll just let that dry. Clean that up a little bit. I'll let that dry overnight, and tomorrow we'll come back and we'll let the other pieces dry also, the hearts and their translucent paper, and we'll see if we can assemble this thing. Okay, we're going to assemble the little lantern now with the hearts glued to the lantern base. What I've done is I've measured in about 3 inches on center on the 6-inch side, moved it in about a 1/2 inch for the base, and I've glued the bottom of the first heart. You have the wax paper on the inside so that people will not notice it as much, and this will be sort of inlaid on the outside. So we're going to let that dry now. I've got it clamped down on both sides of the heart. It should be a pretty solid plant there once the glue is dried. When we come back, I'm going to put on the other 3 hearts. It'll be a little easier because we don't really have to measure at that point. Everything will be based in relation to this first one. And we're going to glue not only the base of the other ones, But we're going to glue it onto the other part of the heart as well. Okay, so we'll be back when this dries. Okay, I've got the first heart pretty well glued down here now. What I'm going to do with these now is similarly glue them right to the base, but I'm also going to glue them at points along the way here on the sides, so there'll be a little extra reinforcement to it, and we'll clamp these down too, of course. So let's put some glue on these. Right there, bottom, and on the side. I want to take some paper off here also, because you got some wood that it's attached to. I'm going to turn this around, put this on this side. Make sure it's nice and flat on the bottom. And we'll take it to the edge here, press it against the other heart, and we'll clamp it down also. Okay, so we got our second heart for the lantern attached here. To make sure that it's going to be attached at the top here, we've got another little clamp, very light in nature. I'll put that in there, and that will hold that in place while that dries. Now similarly, we're going to do the same thing with the other two hearts eventually after this dries. I won't bother to film it all, but you get the idea. When we're done, we should have this thing very nicely organized and planted together. Put another clamp on this side too, just to make sure that it's nice and squarely put down on the base. Okay, I'll be back with the finished example in a little while. Okay, I've got the last heart clamped down and glued up on the sides and the bottom, and it's looking pretty good so far. What I'll do now is let this dry, and maybe I'll give it a coating of a lacquer. You could of course paint this if you wanted to, different colors, and some more imaginative painters than I am could probably do that, but I'm going to leave it as it is. And when it all dries up, I'll set it up on display and you can take a look at it and see what you think. I hope you enjoyed this little project. It takes a little bit of time and a little bit of patience, but I think it'll come out pretty nice in the end. If you like watching this, click the like button down below, and maybe you want to subscribe to the channel to see if any other future projects I come up with. Thank you for watching.